Well, good evening, everybody. It's excuse me. It's 6 o'clock and it's Friday, so it's time for Flashcard Friday, and we are going to continue our conversation on the top 10 lies that Christians believe. Now, I have four up here. I'm hoping to get to all four, but if I don't, we'll continue wherever we leave off next week. But again, this is especially for today's day and age. It's so apropos. Uh, the more complicated life gets, the more we tend to believe these different things about ourselves, and and the Bible just says that's wholeheartedly not true. So again, I want to start with we have to keep in mind that the lies we believe tend to come from one of two things. It tends to be where Satan questions who we are, um, or he will question what the nature of God actually is. We don't ever want to forget that. If ever we feel anything in this arena is being attacked, it's more than likely a lie. So, hey Trina, long time no see. Hey Carol. But I want to start off right off the bat, and this is one I think I've said to myself more than anything. It's like when I see my backstory, it's the lie that I believe every time, and that is that God could never use someone like me. And anybody who knows my whole backstory um, knows knows that statement right there is a lie. Because God has used me and He continues to use me. And the person that I wanted to talk about, who is the absolute contradiction of that, even though Gideon believed this about himself, he didn't believe that God could use somebody like him. But Judges 6:12 tells us right off the bat that God doesn't believe that, and He's about to prove to Gideon that it's just not true. So if you look at Judges 6:12, actually, let me start. Gideon is hiding. He's hiding pretty much in a hole in the ground. The Israelites they've made it out of Egypt. Okay, so they've escaped their Egyptian conquerors, but they've continued to make the same mistakes that they did before, and now they have the Midianites, who are just decimating them at every turn. And the Israelites, instead of trusting in God, they're hiding in fear. So Gideon is working. He's working to gather wheat, because again they were starving. So he's working to gather wheat, but he's hiding in a hole in the ground. He's hiding in a wine press, which is it's a hole that's usually about 8 feet deep. And he's hiding there when an angel of the Lord comes up to him, and these are the words for somebody hiding in a wine press. It says, "Then the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, 'The Lord is with you, valiant warrior.'" And again, keep in mind, I'm currently using a CSB version. It's the Christian Standard Bible. So if you have an NIV or something, it's going to read a little bit different. Like some of yours might say mighty warrior instead of valiant. But, I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. You have a guy hiding in a hole, and an angel of the Lord comes up to him and says, "Greetings, the Lord is with you, valiant warrior." Now, Gideon responds exactly like I would. There is not a doubt in my mind that he looked over both shoulders, with that kind of, "Are you talking to me?" Type of a thing. But, Gideon he goes into, if the Lord is with us, like you just said, why are we going through this? And then, it's like it goes on to say that that God's going to use Gideon. Of all the people he could choose, of all the warriors he could choose, he's choosing Gideon, a guy cowering in a hole. You know, a guy whose backstory probably matches all of ours. You know, full of doubt and insecurities, you know, and just those types of things. And God says, no, I don't need some, you know, super full of himself person. I need somebody who's going to trust me. And Gideon puts God kind of to, you know, to a test. He's like, you know, later on in this story, he says, if it's really you, you stay here. I'm going to go grab some food and come back and cook a meal for us. And the angel says, yeah, I'll wait. You know, and then 2 more times, you know, he tests him, you know, to say, if it's really you, you know, forgive me for questioning this, but, you know, it's been a long time since we've had this conversation. So let me just make sure, you know, and the angel of the Lord he's honest with it, you know, and he stays and he waits, and God is faithful in it, because God says he can use anyone. So when you think about the last time your pastor asked you to help out with something, and you said, why would somebody want to hear from someone like me? Why would you be looking at someone like me? You're falling into that lie because you're questioning who you are. And God is using that person to say, no, you matter to me. Your backstory is in the past. Not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in you now. And I'm going to use you now because I need you to understand that this is a lie. That's a big lie. And it hits each one of us in a different way, in a different variant. But it's one that we can't fall for because it's a lie. And then another one, I think I've even said this one at church. I'm not qualified. That I'm notorious for saying that particular one. I'm not qualified. I'm not good enough. There's got to be somebody who understands that much more, you know, than I ever could. I think we all know Peter. Peter trips over his own feet so many times throughout the New Testament. You know, he makes so many mistakes, but Jesus says something to him, and this is actually at a point where, you know, people are starting to leave Jesus. They're starting to question, you know, who he is, and he's trying to prepare everybody that, you know, he's about to face his own crucifixion. And in Matthew 16, he asks all of his disciples in verse 15, he says, but you, who do you say I am? And the first person to pipe up, you know, and again, part of it is because he has a big mouth. You know, he's kind of a windbag like me. You know, but he pipes up right away, and Peter says, you are the Messiah. You're the Son of the living God. And then Jesus pretty much says, this is false. Right here, this whole I'm not qualified statement, he says this is false. Because he says to Peter, and I also say that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. Now, Peter's name actually means rock. It's a version of the word Petra. And if you go to Acts, I believe it's in Acts chapter 2, right after Pentecost, Peter preaches the first post-resurrection sermon. And when he does that, 3,000 people are saved. 2 days later, he does it again, 5,000 people are saved. In 2 sermons, he saves 8,000 people. In 2 sermons. the boy who didn't think he was qualified. I mean, because literally right after this is when Jesus is going to tell him that before the rooster crows, 3 times you're going to disown me. Um, this guy who made the biggest of blunders, who, if you were to look at qualifications, would not be on the top of your list. He's the one, through the working of the Holy Spirit, saves 8,000 people. With the Holy Spirit using him to speak and to say, Peter, you are qualified. So when you think about the job that you have and the people that you deal with, whether they're believers or unbelievers, not only are you God's masterpiece, but you're also his mouthpiece. And he's using your words to draw people closer to him, because he's saying you're qualified. I can only see, I know that more people are on here, but I can only see these two. He's saying, Trina, you're qualified. I'm going to use you, Carol. I'm going to use you because you said I could, but because I need you to know that you are qualified. You can do it. You will make a difference in this world. No matter what anybody else says, God, remember, love story, not a rule book, love story. God says you are qualified. And then one of my favorite people in the world, we're about to talk to her, or we're about to talk about her, with another lie. What I say doesn't matter. And I can't tell you how many teenagers I've had conversations with that have said that very thing. Whether it's they're having a situation with their parents, or they're having a situation at school, or they're even having a situation at church. It's always, what I say doesn't matter. And Hannah, I'm going to kind of set the stage a little bit. Hannah is childless. And that's all she wants. She's desperate for a child. And she even, she reaches a point where she tells God, if you'll open my womb, if you'll give me a child, I will give that child to you. And, I just want you to see this. In 1 Samuel 1, verses 12 through 17, this is Hannah has gone into the synagogue. And she's praying. And there's a prophet who's kind of watching this whole thing unfold. And in verse 12 it says, while she continued praying in the Lord's presence, Eli watched her mouth. Hannah was praying silently, and though her lips were moving, her voice could not be heard. Eli thought she was drunk, and he said to her, how long are you going to be drunk? Get rid of your wine. So then Hannah replies, no, my Lord. I am a woman with a broken heart. I haven't had any wine or beer. I've been pouring my heart out before the Lord. Don't think of me as a wicked woman. I've been praying from the depth of my anguish and resentment. And Eli responded, go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant the request you have made of him. Now, if what Hannah had to say in that prayer was actually true, then chapter 2 wouldn't exist in 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 2 is Hannah's prayer, and it's Hannah's triumphant prayer, because after she had that conversation with Eli, God heard her. He opened her womb, and she was pregnant. And then when she had weaned that child, okay, so in weaning in that day and age was somewhere between the ages of 2 and 3. So she still has a baby. She gives that baby to Eli, fulfilling her part of the covenant that she made with God. God literally took that whole thing full circle, and he said, Not only does what you say matter because you chose to have that conversation with me, but your son Samuel is going to be the prophet to King David. He's going to be the one to call David out when David makes the biggest blunder of his life. Samuel's the one that's going to call him out. Samuel is going to be King David's right-hand man from that point forward. What Hannah had to say mattered because her focus was on God. What you have to say matters. It matters to everyone who hears it, everyone who hears your words and sees your words. It matters. You may not have the opportunity to see it, but somewhere down the road, your words can actually change the trajectory of somebody's life. So again, this is a lie. This is Satan questioning who you are. And it's a huge lie. And we have enough time, so I'm gonna go to this one because I love this. I don't have the authority. That has got to be one of the biggest lies out there. And so many people, believe that. I don't have the authority to help somebody walk through a struggle. I don't have the authority to help walk somebody towards Jesus. I just don't have the biblical authority. And Matthew, he's one of the 12. So Jesus, he spends a lot of time with Jesus, but all throughout this book, Matthew never speaks. You actually you never hear him speak. You get to read, his writing. He became a prolific writer, but you never hear his words. Did that diminish his authority? I don't think so. Of the 4 Gospels, Matthew's is the longest. Matthew's is the most detailed. Every parable, every time Jesus spoke, Matthew talked about it. And then at the very end of Matthew's Gospel, this is when he literally proves the I don't have authority to be a lie. The 11 disciples traveled to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had directed them. When they saw him, they worshipped, but some doubted. Jesus came near and said to them, "All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe everything I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always, to the end of the age." You have the authority. The Great Commission is for all of us. It's not just for a select few here and there. It's for all of us, including you. And just like the end of that says, Jesus is always with you. That one actually questions both. That lie attacks the nature of God and it attacks who you are. Love story, not a rule book. Love story. God's nature is love. He's not going to leave you. And if God tells you to do something, he's going to walk with you through it. He's given you the authority and the ability to walk through it. All you have to do is trust and obey. These are lies. They're lies that if we're not careful, they can penetrate deep into our soul. And they don't belong there. They don't need to stay there. Or we need to kick them out the second that we hear them. Because we need to know who we are and whose we are. And we need to know that the nature of God is love. Again, we're going to go through hard times. But there's always love at the end of that rainbow. You just have to believe. Separate the lies from the truth. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. Again, I've had a great time. If there's anything that you guys ever want to talk about, you can put it in the chat. You can send me a text, send me an email. Grab me on a Sunday. Whatever. I would love to hear what you guys want to talk about. I love each and every one of you, and I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it is when you guys join me on Fridays. So I'll see you on Sunday. Talk to you later. Bye.